Good morning, everyone. Alright, so what I'm seeing so far, last night I had let me get this up. So last night before going to bed, I was expecting today, because we have news, and today should be when the most volatility starts to hit the market, but I saw this range right from that high down to this low. I'm measuring it from this high down to that low. There's a couple levels I was highlighting, and I wanted to see price bounce from this reclaimed order block, run up to these gaps, and then reverse up here, create some sort of order block, right? Create a 15-minute order block, and then go lower. So I'm wanting to participate on the move lower. So we drew down a little bit further to get beneath reclaimed order block, wick down there, got back above it. Now we've entered this fair value gap. Now the reason I'm looking at this white fair value gap as my first level is because if I look at this whole price range, right, all these up close candles, this is all one order block. So price ran up into that, and I'm taking the fair value gap inside that, the first fair value gap inside that order block, and I'm pairing the order block with this fair value gap, and it's a very strong level. Preferably, I wouldn't want this breakaway gap to be traded to. This one here. So I wouldn't really want that to be traded to. We can ignore that one. I'll try and I'll make it like a different color, but I don't know what I should make it. Make it like this. Okay. Yeah, so anyways, yeah, the breakaway gap, I'd like to see if that stays open, and overall from this high all the way on down to this low, that is a premium. So if it does get up to that breakaway gap, I would be very bearish, but I don't think it should get back up to premium, because we're also we've created a swing high there, and that would kind of disrespect this whole order block. In my opinion, I'd be looking more towards canceling a bearish bias if it does get up there. So I'd like this area to be respected, and we did reach up into a premium with this white gap here, right? So I am liking the idea of going lower right now. And 8:30 had the GDP news, which is actually GDP. That actually is important news. Let me check what it is. Okay, GDP growth rate. That's the one, right? Yeah. Oh, okay. Prior was 3.4. Wait, what? Oh, this is the second. I think this is revised. No, this is the estimate for the second quarter. So yeah, 1.3. I mean, I don't think anything really changed. This is just an estimate. There's also pending home sales that usually creates a bit of volatility, so I'm also going to be paying attention to that at 10 o'clock. If I look at the hourly chart, by the way, we have this nice gap there, which is also respecting price. So this is a tough level to get by, push through. All right, but could it make another high? Yeah, I mean it could. Yeah, it could. This order block here, this big up close candle, hasn't really had a change in the state of delivery because we haven't closed beneath it. And preferably, I prefer the order blocks when the next candle directly afterwards is much bigger, like up here. See how there was a small up close, beefy up close candle? The body's still pretty big. And then we have a huge close beneath directly after. All right, but we didn't have a premium array over here, a resisting price. All right, and we had the 830 news, which manipulated higher. So 930 could open up really quickly, run above, and then expand away quickly. It might also just send it lower. But I marked the midnight open there, so that midnight open is what I'll be using to any price level I can get in above midnight open for a sell is good. That's what I'll be working with. Also, regular trading hours, we should open lower, so it is possible to regular trading hours might want to make a run higher to fill the gap. We haven't filled Friday's gap yet on the regular trading hours, so we could still come down here to fill that, and then ultimately go to the sell side liquidity. And this would be a bigger market maker sell model. Right, initially, there's not there's you could say there's not really any initial accumulation, but it's ran up all the way up here and consolidated up here, and then displayed lower. So it could also be the case that we have a market maker buy model, right? So I'm not dismissing that case either. I'm just preferring the lower side right now, and I want to see if it's going to give me place to go lower. Now see the buy side liquidity up here. This initial consolidation would have created orders up and down the range, and we've traded lower, we've retraced, and we've given a second leg of distribution, right? The problem is though that in my opinion we haven't distributed all the way to sell side liquidity, so we might have a third leg before running back up here, if we do run back up there. And yeah, so that's sort of what I am, one of the things I'm looking at. But also, right, the Dow has had like a heart attack. This is the Dow. It doesn't look anything like the Nasdaq, right? So if you look at the daily chart, it's ran up into this gap and then expanded all the way back down near its lows, while the Nasdaq and the S&P 500 are still way above. And actually, the Nasdaq is making these higher lows, while the S&P is making lower lows. But Nasdaq did fail to make a higher high. So right now I am seeing this as the initial move lower on Thursday, a failure to make a new high above the move lower. Might have gotten people in, might have stopped people that were selling early on this down close candle, and now it's going to go lower, and it could start to catch up to the Dow. So that's one thing I'm looking at. I think the earnings seasons are kind of over, and because the earnings are over, the excitement might be gone around the tech, so it could start to agree more with the Dow. But yeah, right now I'm just looking on the 13-minute chart and waiting for a reversal. We had a big trend, so this could come down and clean up this whole trend before running back higher to buy side liquidity. Right, so it could drop lower to sell side liquidity while cleaning up this whole trend. So we've had the opening. Now, if we're gonna get down beneath this level here, I would see that as a market structure shift, right? Because we had this low up here run up to this high, which ran into a premium array. Right, so that would be the order block, market shift, and I would be looking for some for this order block paired with this order block, 830 and then 915 order block to resist price, and then to send price lower beneath the midnight open back down to these lows. Alright, so we've had this market shift. Now this whole area here, the small consolidation, it might provide a little bit of support, but I want price to eventually get underneath it and then use it as resistance. There's also this whole fair value gap. Now, let me see the... Oh, the dollar's going up. Well, that's actually not that terrible, because that would show that the Nasdaq may be leading. And it's not just relying, it's not just going lower because the Dow is going lower, it's actually just going lower on its own. The dollar has reached my level of interest. And it's still being supported by that. This is a discount. Initially, I wanted to see if it would bounce from here in a premium, which would be very bullish, but instead it retraced a little bit more. I wanted the daily chart to create a nice and big fair value gap, but it seems like we might have to wait a little bit longer for that. unless we continue going lower. It is possible that this inverse fair value gap here, we run up into it, and then looking by how last week closed, seems like there was a lot of liquidity at this high. There's an order block right there on the daily chart, so on the weekly chart, sorry. Could be finding a lot of resistance before going higher, or that resistance will end up influencing it to go lower. It really just depends on today if this order block is formed. But for my bias on the stock market right now, I'd like for the US dollar to raise higher now. If we get down here all the way to midnight open, I may look to start buying because we're beneath the midnight open, and if I see an order block and reasons to go higher, then that could fill in for this bullish bias. And I also have the 8:30 opening in mind, so that's something else. I'm watching the 8:30 opening. We're way beneath that too. And down about 60 points. So look at how that 5 minute is closing up into this gap. I don't really like that. I don't like how it's closing up into it. See, like the 15-minute chart. Notice how, yeah, we did get beneath that. But again, where are the bodies? That's one thing I'm paying attention to. If we wick down here, it could just be delaying the move lower, right? It doesn't have to go lower right away. It can come back a little bit more, consolidate. It just depends on where the bodies are. And as long as the bodies are closing above that level, if I take off the wicks, to me this isn't a market shift, right? So it does look like we have closed beneath. Oh, maybe not. Well, we've closed beneath this order block for sure. So we have some order blocks up here, and the 5-minute chart has came back up into this fair value gap, and they have an inverse fair value gap that we're trading in. We're beneath 50% of it. So I wouldn't mind starting to see some lower prices, but I'm not too comfortable buying in yet. So I like how we got a close above these highs here. Right, the price came up and closed above these highs. I think this is supporting the idea that we might have bullish prices, and that's good because if you're a retail trader and you're buying and selling the pressure, buying and selling pressure. You're wanting to see price consistently make new highs and higher lows, and so this is building liquidity, getting ready for a bearish run. That red line, by the way, is a market structure shift. I'm preferring to wait till the 10 o'clock hour for the home sales news, because what I'd like to see is a 5-minute short-term high get taken out. And like right now, I'm not really finding a good breaker to use. I mean, we're finding resistance at these order blocks, but my model is like look for a 5-minute breaker, so I'm waiting for some order block or breaker to be formed in premium on the 5-minute chart. I have to remember that the setup might not present itself today, and that's okay. Get back on the 15-minute chart and wait till 10 o'clock news. But I'm looking here is a run higher right now. You had an initial dip lower, it did not hold up. I'd like to see if it's willing to run up above this high, and that could get me into a trade. Then from there. So now I'm like a bit, see, we're not really showing that we want to get up here really quickly, like all this consolidation. It's starting to make me question the move lower. If we get a close beneath this fair value gap, I might try it. It doesn't look like it's willing to do that. This is looking a bit like a market maker buy model. But I don't like that big bearish 5-minute fair value gap. So I think there's going to be a better opportunity to see it fail and then to see a bigger run, potentially. There you go, it's a little bit more like it. Seeing a little bit of down movement, which is good. That failure to make a new high. Right, it would have been fine if we made the new high anyway, but we failed to make one, which is more bearish. But now I haven't had an entry. Like, it hasn't given me a fair value gap or an inverse fair value gap. I wanted to try to short if we came back inside this gap here, but we displaced so far beneath it. touched that midnight open, saw bullish reaction so far, so that's something good. Want to see higher prices. I'm gonna try this. Maybe a little bit too high. I'll only look for 25 points, but should have placed a limit order and just let it come back down. I was trying to get it inside that gap, but the idea is that we ran back down to midnight open. We've traded beneath the short-term low. The dollar seems to be consolidating, isn't really picking up much pace. So I think that, and with the Dow going higher, I think that this was a Judas swing potentially. And so far it is pretty explosive to the upside. I want to see these gaps act as inverse, so each one, use it as an inverse. And ultimately I can hold until, I'd be comfortable holding until here. I'll take some partials, like half off. Or most of it off. Up here. We'll do like 8 up there. Actually, that would be about $500. So I don't know what it's an intersection between the, what was this one again? 1 hour, the 15-minute inverse or value gap. Yeah. My stops at break even. I'm thinking of taking off 4 up here when it gets 20 points. Let me actually modify it like that. Yeah, I don't like how it's consolidating here. I think it could be reaccumulating, but I really don't like the way it's consolidating. I like the momentum, but maybe I'm too focused on the smaller time frame, and I need to also lock these in place to keep moving them. I might get stopped here. Let me put the stop beneath the order block, because it can just come back to the order block and then run higher. This is, after all, a 1 minute fair value gap. It could be a valid entry. Alright, now I really don't want it to come back down. I want it to run real quick now. I'm getting ready to sell for above 20 points. I want to make sure I get 20 points. And that was just about 20 points. A little bit beneath, but I let it run to the next one. And we got our last 2, which I can hold all the way up to here. Yeah, I don't know when I want to. I'll play it off the P&L now. See if maybe we can get a 26K. I'm going to move my stop up a little bit. Up beneath these order blocks. So I'm kind of choking the trade out here. And I'll move it up the more it goes up to kind of choke the trade out. I'd prefer doing that rather than just give away all the profits. I mean, I know I'm probably right for it to run up here, and I could probably just leave my stop beneath here, and it'll still run, but I'd rather be out quicker. On the 5 minute, nothing. Well, there's a small fair value gap there we're in. Yeah, more of this consolidation. there. Come on. Come on. Well. Oh, fuck. This is not good. Oops. Alright, now it obviously goes up after I take everything off. Yeah, so I'm not disappointed with the performance. So I saw this 15-minute chart drop down initially, make a small run higher, and then drop down again at the midnight open. And when it bounced off the midnight open on the lower time frame, right, that's a short-term low which was hit. And I believe this whole area, this whole range, price is working to use it as support. So it's still like, you know, I expect it to use this as support and then run up and attempt these highs. So I just grabbed a small piece of that range. Right, gradually over the years, I might be able to start using the same ideas and grab more and more of the range with higher leverage. But I instead just wanted to grab 20 to 30 points, and I sold most up here at around above 20 points, and then the rest I trailed my stop, and I cut off. You know, it's still consolidating, and it dropped down a little bit more, got me into a short because my stop loss, I did not trim it. It was still the full stop position. So it put me into a short, and then I took profits, a couple of points for like 30, 40 bucks. So the account is now at 25,630, 420 P&L. So it's about 20 points, 21 points of P&L. And we are good with that. We'll see too if I want to stay, because it might actually not make a run up here. It might actually continue lower. There is a possibility for that. See, once we got up to that 50% in premium, I kind of started to wonder whether or not price would continue making a run higher. What I'd look for right now is a bearish fair value gap to present itself here, like maybe this one, and see if price wants to use it as an inverse. get back to my math and I'll let this play out a little bit. Alright, so quick recap of what happened today. So yesterday, I wanted to see this. This was taken yesterday around 10 o'clock. I wanted to see today run up. I can't go any. Okay. I wanted to see today run up into these premium arrays and then run lower. Not immediately, like it can consolidate some more. It's Asia session. We still have one session. So I had this white one. That was the first one. There was an inverse fair value gap there, and then there's a breakaway gap, which is a gap that's left open. I preferred price not to trade to that, but it could have. I said that I would look to create a 15-minute bearish order block in the premium, and then for it to go lower. All right. So what happened is we came up to. We ran up in the morning, and when 9:30 opened, we had 8:30 news that ran us up into a premium to this area here, right? And I said why I chose this area, because this whole area here is an order block, and I'm refining that order block to this inverse fair value gap there. So the bodies came nicely and touched this, and we had a market shift, right? A market structure shift right there. And we also created an order block on the 15-minute chart here. So I had everything I needed in order to go short, and instead what I did was I saw how 9:30 open, shot price down. I didn't really like that. I would have liked to participate ahead at 9:30 open, but I don't trade in those times. So when 8:30 ran up, I was looking for the exact same move at 9:30 for that 8:30 run up, but that move already happened at 8:30 with the news. So I knew that likely 9:30 was going to shoot price down. It was going to consolidate, maybe manipulate some more, which it did, run back to the order block while manipulating, and then continue lower. So I participated in a move that ran us back up to the order block. So I was sort of also trying to make a bullish case with the midnight open. I know I didn't get a piece of the move. What I would have wanted to do, honestly, is go short up here at this gap there, but that's outside my trading time, and I didn't want to do that. So instead, it ran back to this fair value gap inside this order block, and once it came back to the order block, it left again. It created underneath the short-term low, and then I opened, it created a big bounce. I thought, okay, maybe it can retrace some more. Maybe it actually might target these highs. I decided to get in on a lower time frame. This was my model. It just wasn't with the daily bias. So I would have had a much easier time going short if I would have went short on, like, I could have just blindly just went short off this order block. Alright, but I would have had to have a huge stop, and that's not my model. But yeah, I mean, like over time, maybe I could take more of these trades, right? I would still be in it now. Like, I would take something like this, but you could tell that as we were dropping down beneath this low, it was not certain to me that this would play out. Last night, this is what I wanted to see, and this morning, this is what I wanted to see. But as we dropped down into 10 o'clock, and we started leaving and not really giving me my entry model above here, I sort of wanted to trade against that, and it caught me off guard. So I react to small price movements a lot, and I'm not very patient, which is why I'm best taking small scalps. And when I see that price is going lower, if I'm looking for a scalp, here in this scenario, it would be to go higher. I wouldn't be looking to chase a scalp, on this bigger delivery lower. unless I'm getting in up here, obviously, which was not my model. So I did want to take this right here, this inverse fair value gap, but we never came back into it, and I preferred to see a run above this short-term high. So I would have taken this trade there, but we never got back into it, and you know, I kind of missed out, and I took this long instead to give back some of this range. But that's it for today.